Hi everyone, it's Katie Crysdale here from Lakeview Aquatic Consultants. Welcome back to your weekly aquatic industry insider. Earlier today, I was in my inbox for a few hours catching up on some emails, and YouTube sends me notifications when we have new comments. And I clicked on this comment for an older video, and I was completely stunned by the comment. So initially, I was really confused because I had been through my Google News alerts for today, June 12th, and there had not been any reports of any electrocutions anywhere in the world that was scraped in those Google News reports for drowning or swimming pool. Nonetheless, this is a random comment to put on a video. So I went ahead and I Googled Sonoran Sea Resort, and I came up with this Reddit post. I do want to give a disclaimer that what is going to be shown on the screen is extremely graphic. And so I would encourage you to minimize the video for at least 30 seconds following the end of my explanation, or to stop watching this video completely, because I was completely shocked. Even though there was a content warning from Reddit, it was described as not safe for work. I didn't honestly think that there was going to be cell phone footage of electrocution victim in Mexico on my screen in front of me. So let's have a quick look at that video. I'm not usually one to jump on news trends before there's a lot of information, but the reason I'm making this video is because of the sheer number of comments and views on our other electrocution video, which I recorded back in March of 2024. This was regarding a family that was alleged to have been electrocuted at a different resort in Mexico, where one person went in after the other, and there was a power source in the pool. And so 3 family members were sent to hospital. This is a completely different incident. We obviously don't have a lot of details. You have to take with a grain of salt a video recording like this that is posted on Reddit. I have since Googled to see what, if any, mentions there are in the traditional news media regarding this electrocution or regarding this incident. TMZ has picked up the story. It they restate a lot of the information that I can glean also from watching this video. They don't necessarily have any additional or supplemental sources. Um, it is important to also say we don't know what happened immediately before or after this video. We also can't necessarily independently confirm the veracity of this video, right? In a world of AI, who knows? Maybe this is AI. And we also can't confirm the location. I'm not here to be clickbaity or make light of a family's tragedy for any unnecessary reason. We don't have any other information. There's no facts of the case right now. I just want to speak generally about electrocution in pools, in water bodies, and what you can do as a pool operator in a commercial aquatic facility. So, one of the gaps that I often see as a management consultant when it comes to swimming pools is there is this reliance on equipment just working without being inspected. That's not just electrical components such as underwater lights or overhead lights. That's not just circulation pumps. That is just this general sense in the pool industry that the equipment works until it doesn't. Every facility should have a routine inspection plan. It does require that our underwater lights be inspected regularly. And that's done either at an annual shutdown or at a set date every year, 18 months, 2 years, when the water can be drained and these pieces of infrastructure can be inspected. Electrocution in water is not uncommon, unfortunately. Some of you may be here because of that electrocution case in Mexico earlier this year. It was in a different part of Mexico completely. Electrocutions also happen to lifeguards. One of the cases that I wasn't able to cover in my recent presentation regarding lifeguard fatalities did include a case, I believe it was in North or South Carolina, where the lifeguard was fatally electrocuted at the start of her shift after making contact with the water that she was meant to be supervising. And that family is working really hard to increase awareness and potentially change legislation in that state regarding that case. There have also been many, many cases of electrocution in other types of pools, namely residential pools. I've seen many, many cases of electrocution associated with boat docks or open water. This is not to terrify you. This is to point out that as an industry, we are not doing enough to understand electricity in and around water and that fatal complication and mixture. I've also been around many facilities where there's not proper GFI outlets in the pool area. There is a lot of extension cords being used around boombox or sound systems, whether it's any sort of like an extension cord for a videographer who's doing a biomechanical assessment of swimmers to improve their technique. There are a lot of instances where we have electrical components around pools. Twinkle lights, decorative lights are another big one. Decorative lights that people hang around their backyard, which are not necessarily properly bonded for use around water. They may be appropriate for rain and all seasons, but they're not meant to be hung near pools, open pits of water. The other one that made my skin crawl last week was somebody sent me this viral craft project that was floating around on Instagram or Pinterest, where you purchase these little battery powered lights and you pop them into a noodle to create little floaties for ambiance to put in your backyard pool if you want to have like a romantic evening or a pool party.
Here's how to turn pool noodles into pool lights. I grabbed a bunch of battery-operated tea lights from Dollar Store and pool noodles. Cut the pool noodles into little discs and then put a tea light in the middle of each disc. They fit perfectly. Turn them on and at night put them right in your pool. These look so pretty, floating around and lighting up your pool. I'm obsessed with this hack. Follow me for more ideas.
Yes, a small battery like that may not be as dangerous, air quotes, as a underwater light or a pool robotic vacuum, but it's a very slippery slope if we are willing to chuck battery operated lights into the pool. And what if the next person after us doesn't understand the risk? So when I'm filming these videos, I'm often trying to think about what education I can provide or what experience I can share. And I just want to say that this is a horrible tragedy if it is confirmed that it is an electrocution that we have witnessed the tail end of. Electrocution is often fatal. It often leads to literally a heart attack, cardiac arrest. There was a case in Canmore, Alberta, a few years ago where a gentleman was in a hot tub in a condo style rental property, and he was killed by the allegedly the light source, a compromised underwater light niche in that hot tub. The big thing I would say as somebody who works in this industry is everything is so hush hush. People are unwilling to really discuss what happened. It may be because of legal settlements or non disclosure agreements. It may be because properties or individuals are not willing to take responsibility, or they settle and their settlement includes no claim of responsibility. But it's really frustrating for us in the pool industry and for the wider consumer at large. Like if you are somebody who has a vacation booked in Mexico in a couple of months, it's really scary for you to wonder, is this going to happen to me when I go to a resort? What can we do as swimmers? You shouldn't have to just stick your toe into the pool to make sure that it's safe. I don't have an immediate solution that I can give you for making sure your pool is safe when it comes to an electrical current. What I will say is that any sort of flickering light, any sort of buzzing, any sort of sharp current, or anything that feels unusual in the water from a customer perspective, you should be very cautious. If you are talking about us as pool operators, we need to be watching our breakers. We need to be noticing if we have receptacles that are frequently switching off. So if the breaker is going off, there's usually a reason for that. Resetting the breaker once a year, maybe not concerning, but resetting the breaker a few times in the course of several days probably means that there's some sort of disruption in the electrical circuitry that requires a professional to come in and inspect the equipment. Anything that's installed on your pool deck in terms of electrical, whether it's lighting or sound systems, you do need to work with an electrician to make sure that's done properly. I know some people are very comfortable doing quote unquote minor electrical work in their home, like replacing a light fixture or a light switch. In the commercial setting, in the workplace, you need to be absolutely confident in your own technical expertise to do that. And for most of us, myself included, I would not feel qualified or competent, and it is more appropriate for me to hire a third party electrical professional to do that. So I don't want to keep talking for the sake of talking. The fact of the matter is we don't have a lot of details. I will be watching this case closely. We'll see if more details arise. Unfortunately, what usually happens with these cases is they hit social media and news pretty hard for a couple days. Everybody is scrambling for more information. There is no information. The PR team for the property or the site is very tight-lipped. The family is grieving and they don't speak out, which is completely their prerogative. And then we're left with no details. I'm simply looking to increase awareness. That is the main focus of this channel. Aquatic Industry Insider is trying to share my interest in the commercial swimming pool industry, water safety, drowning prevention, and often that intersection with current events, social media, and things that people ask me. Friends, family members, colleagues, neighbors, what should they do? What should they look for? In this particular case, I don't have any glaring things that I can tell you because we don't have enough information. This is not a common enough occurrence that we should all be paranoid about this happening at our community center pool, but it is something that I'll be watching closely as we get more information. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you again in the next video.